What is up, you back again with another video. In today's video, we're back with another episode in the My Book series. This is something I wanted to go, put out while it was December, because I have a lot of other content planned for this month, so I'm not sure if I'll get another My Book episode out. So I wanted to do the Christmas episode and get that out for you guys. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So in the last episode, we talked about the 2100s, 2113, 2112, 2115, etc. Well, today we're going to discuss the Christmas of 2115. So this is going to be a few months, basically towards the end of the following year was with that whole invasion with Europe began, and so now we're moving into the next year, and obviously beginning of the year we have, or towards the end of the year going into the new year, we have Christmas, and obviously January afterwards. So this was the last huge moment for this year, for this invasion, and so a lot of the troops are now stationed along the entire coastline of Europe, as well as the coastline of the UK, as well as some chunks of Spain and Italy, going towards the South African continent, the African continent, in that direction. So now we kind of have an idea what's happening here. So the Christmas of 2115 is one of the most heartbreaking, I think, of all the Christmases, because of the suffering that would partake, but not only that, but of the healing that would also partake. There was a lot of suffering, a lot of healing at the same time, and we'll explain why in a minute. So because of this, a lot of historians at the time will write in the books, and a lot of the soldiers in that will write as well, of the eerily quietness of the 2115 Christmas. It would be one of the quietest Christmas of the war, especially of the last 40 or so years. As for the last 40 or so years, it has been very, very popular for the Exo to do massive attacks on holidays, because they had learned over the years that the humans, or just normally us, but to them humans, partook in celebrations during certain periods of the year, and they figured this stuff out pretty early, and so they would wait, allow us to gain some peace during that time, and then say by the end of the day or something, they would do a massive attack and kill countless civilians and soldiers as well. And because of this, Christmas, Halloween, Easter, all the other holidays that we have nowadays become obsolete, really. People begin to not even decorate houses during the holidays. People aren't going out and Black Friday shopping or getting massive amounts of food for, a big meal. This has become a very stressed community in the world at the time. And so because of this, a lot of things begin to change in the terms of how people view holidays during this era. And they're viewing holidays as something that's not important, as something that is a waste of time. But 2115 was different. See, because of the 2015 and 2014, 2013 invasions, and how we were winning the war for a while, there was this urge to want to bring back the part of humanity that we had lost for so long. And so the 2014 and 2015 Christmas became kind of well known around the planet at this time as being the rebirth of Christianity, as many had put it. And I know I've stayed away from religion pretty much the entire story of this so far, and I wanted to stay away from Christianity or any other religion just simply for the fact of I don't want my book to feel like it's pushing a belief. But I can't help it want to put the religion that I believe in as well in there. I think it's important for me to have a little bit of me in there. So this chapter is kind of focused around the religious movement and the progression that you will see going forward. And so because of this, a large portion of the United States begins celebrating Christmas for the first time in some people's entire lives, because remember, this is something that's been happening for quite a while. We've not experienced Christmas due to the war, and so there's not a lot of people that are teenagers or even young adults who they've heard of Christmas, they've heard of what it used to be, and they've seen what it used to be through movies or books or images, But when it comes to actually experiencing it, a lot of them never have. And so throughout the United States, it sparked like a wildfire. One city after another would start decorating, and more cities would decorate, and it would just keep spreading and spreading and spreading. It also so happened to be one of the coldest winters of the war, being the average temperature was around negative 20 degrees with about a foot of snow in most cities, including the north and south of the United States. The global temperature had dropped significantly in 2014, 2015. It is unclear whether that is a cause of the over 30 to 60 years of pollution from the war, or that's caused due to the fact of the issues we had prior to the war with all the wildfires, storms, pandemics, epidemics, etc. It's unclear. Otherwise, other than that, it was pretty cold for the most part. A lot of the guys overseas that were in Europe were experiencing below freezing temperatures, and they were in foxholes, trenches, and they were in destroyed cities. Think of the coldest you can possibly be and times it by about 30, and that's what these guys were dealing with over in Europe. There is some stories of how the soldiers had referenced it to the history books of how the Battle of the Bulge was for a lot of the guys in the Ardennes Forest. And in other aspects, a lot of the guys had wrote how the wind was like ice and glass spreading throughout the air, causing people to actually get cuts from the cold, from the wind. And so this is going to be a common thing you're going to see throughout this entire situation, is that iceness, that cold. And remember, these guys have been sitting... they've been sitting in the cold for months now, right? Because the winter is not just December, it's a bunch of months together, and it's just cold all the way through. And so these guys are bundled, holding each other. I mean, these were some of the worst conditions you could possibly be in at this time. I mean, there was no food, no water, no ammo, no heat. And most of the guys in the units had no vehicles due to the whole vehicle armada getting destroyed during the initial invasion. And now they have forced to retreat back to the front lines, back to the coastline. And even though now they had a really solid defensive perimeter and they were, winning battles again, in the months prior, there was still a lack of essential supplies to keep them moving forward. And so it became a very stressful time during that era for the men to not only keep fighting, but keep just living in general, right? So with all this, there is a ounce of hope that goes shooting through the lines of men during this period. One road soldier had written that some foxhole randomly on the line started singing Silent Night and Unholy Night, and other Christmas carol songs, and suddenly it broke out into the entire EDF line from all the way up to Norway, all the way down to Italy, singing the same songs as they just completely engulfed in the Christmas spirit. And the Christmas of 2114 and 2115 would be some of the most quietest, in the sense that there was no activity the entire time. So Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and the day after Christmas, there was no action at all. The Exil had completely been nowhere to be seen during this period of time, and it's very concerning to a lot of the guys on the ground of why the Exil never attacked on those 2 days, specifically because they knew that the Exil knew what they were celebrating that day. But it is believed to have been caused due to the fact that the Exil had been taking some serious casualties. Even in that invasion with defense, they were able to hold off. They lost a significantly large amount of their forces, and they were not as easily did not as easily win that battle as they had hoped. And so it is believed they probably were also recuperating as well. So that's probably the most likely situation. And so, due to this, there's just this large amount of peace during this era. And one soldier had wrote this to his believed to be a family member. It was an unknown soldier's message home, and he wrote, "This has to be the quietest Christmas in history. Not a sound through the trenches or foxholes or even through the cities. It was just peace on earth. Praise be to God." and this is not just a single thing. This is something that was happening all across Europe and parts of the United States, where guys and families were huddling around fireplaces and building more ammo and building, progressing through their daily lives. There was this peace that was spreading amongst the of humanity. And it was believed to be like this religious ring that was being formed, and a lot of people are now on the basis of this could be something where, in this time there's a lot of questions on humanity and whether or not we were created by an all great being, or if we were just simply another accident in the universe. Because you have to remember, the Exil came from galaxies, millions and millions of light years away. And they came here, they didn't look human, they acted sort of like humans, but without any sympathy. And so there's a lot of questions beginning to arise on whether or not they were also created by a god, or was there even a god that created them in the first place. And so this became quite common for the most part during the conversations of humanity over the next couple of years, on whether or not that if there was a god, why was this happening. And so because of these questions that were being asked, religion became, and not just Christianity, all religions, Muslim religion, Hinduism, Buddhism, Viking mythology, Egyptian mythology, all these religions, all these mythologies were now being called into question, because this war was changing the very fabric in which we thought as humanity progressed, right? We had now taken some serious technological adjustments. Prior to this war, we were barely doing anything with space, and now in this war, less than 10 years within this war, we were already starting to have intergalactic battles outside of our solar system. And so this began to change our very concept of religion and how, in the purpose of life, and etc., and all these other crazy psychological thoughts. And so because of this, religion became kind of put on the back burner for a lot of it. But after this year was different. This year was with the victories, but also that serious defeat that we had suffered. There was a lot of questions on whether or not a being had been in play, right? Had been adjusting stuff in his favor or her favor. And so this is a rebirth of Christianity as well as other religions. You'll see a lot of other religions now pop up throughout the story that will start to boost. You will see new prophets be awoken in this story going forward. They won't be pushed all the way into your face, but I do want to mention, put slight names in here. I'll just put different names and kind of branch out a little bit to the part of the fan base that I know does care about religion. I want to have a little something for you guys, so you guys have something to think about. I think this is a really cool idea to kind of bring humanity together again, and kind of form that solid foundation that we once had. So that's basically the Christmas of 2114 and 2115. I know I keep saying 2 different years. I know Christmas doesn't take place on 2 different years, but it is technically 2 years, because it is the Christmas of 2114. But this entire time period of this entire chunk of existence happens in January as well. So it's kind of also 2115 as well. But that's pretty much the gist of what happened. Obviously, in the chapters, these things go way more in depth. But I'm trying to keep these videos nice and short and kind of chewable for you guys, so they're not too long. Because I know these 45 minute videos are just awful, man. They're awful. I know that. So I'm trying to make it a little shorter for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys have questions or topics that you want me to talk about in the book, either be politics, race, sex, all that type of stuff, in terms of genders and all that, about inside the book's lore, let me know. I'd be glad to make a video on it. I want to start branching out and talking about weapons and stuff and vehicles and stuff, and the background lore of the Exil and the special guests that we have and that are fighting the Exil in their home galaxy. And I want to talk about more of that stuff. I want to kind of stay away from the chapters for a little bit while I'm working on the book, and try to branch out and kind of build a bigger web of information for you guys. So I hope you guys find that interesting. But with that being said, man, that is pretty much it. That is the video today. I thank you guys so much for watching. Tons of content coming, so stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe, like, turn the little bell icon on, all that good stuff. You guys know what to do already. And yeah, appreciate you guys, love you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.